Welcome to the Girls After God's Heart podcast. I'm Caitlin.
My name is Mai.
And we're going to be hosting this podcast. We've never done a podcast or anything like this before, so bear with us.
It'll be great.
It'll be great, though. Yeah. All right, so first things first, I guess. We're filming in a stairwell because schedules are hard, and so we're filming in a stairwell, and I have yet to get any of the equipment to actually make this podcast work. But hey, we're working with what we got, so.
Yeah. So we're a high schooler, and this podcast is for...
It's for anybody, really. It's for anybody,
Yeah.
But we made it with the intent of just kind of like being able to talk about like how our lives are going, and how as Christians we're walking in the faith, and just kind of how we're handling everyday situations, being teenage girls and Christians. So yeah, that's kind of the basis of it. So the awkward silence.
So how often do you think we're gonna do this?
Oh, that's a good thing to point out. Probably like twice a month, or if we can get every week, that's gonna be. I can't promise consistency though, because we are high schoolers and life happens, and it's going to an IB school is very tough trying to figure out schedules and stuff. And Mai has dance, and I just have other stuff, so yeah, it's probably gonna be like twice a month. So, but yeah, this is our first episode. It's probably not gonna be a whole lot longer, especially because we're at school right now, and Mai has to leave in like 20 minutes, and we had some technical difficulties figuring out how we were gonna film this. So our first episode's probably going to be a little shorter, but hopefully as time goes on and we get more comfortable in this sort of situation, that it'll get longer and we'll be able to talk about more things as well. So.
And also we're planning to get some guests in this podcast, like our friends from high school.
Yeah, so one of the things that really encouraged us, or sparked me, at least for me, to create this podcast was we have a club at our school called Lift Club, which is the Living in Faith Together Club, and it's a Christian club here at our school that both Mai and I are a part of. And something that I really wanted to do was start a podcast. We'd be able to talk about all those things, but one thing that we really wanted to do was focus on the club itself. So I decided to start a podcast outside of the club so that we could still talk about these things and be able to reach more people, especially because I have a lot of friends who, a lot of Christian friends outside of the school that I am looking forward to inviting onto this podcast. I've got some very excited friends out there who go to my church who I will definitely be trying to get onto this podcast. And then Mai and I, we both have friends at school that we're going to try and get on the podcast, and maybe even one of these days we'll be able to record a Lift Club talk and then put that on our podcast as well. So, yeah. I've been doing a lot of talking. Anything that you want to talk about?
I'm sorry, I'm not really good at talking, to be honest, but
it's definitely a new situation.
Yeah.
Talking to a camera, there's nobody
I want to
there.
get used to it, so...
Yeah, that is true, yeah. So, we are definitely trying to get used to this sort of situation. It's a little awkward being in a stairwell with not really anybody to talk to except for you and the camera. So I'm trying to remember that there will be people beyond this camera that we're actually going to be talking to. It's not just an empty, echoey stairwell. So yeah, that's definitely something that we're going to have to get used to. So the awkward silence will edit out. But yeah, anything we can do, I guess life updates, just things that God's been doing in our lives lately. Anything for you?
You go first. I'll think about it.
Okay, so for me, I guess kind of getting on a more serious note, I'm recovering from a sickness, which is why, unfortunately, we haven't been able to get out this podcast sooner, is because Maya and I were both sick over winter break. So that was, unfortunately, a setback, but now we're able to do this. But I'm still recovering from my sickness, and so it's been harder to, I guess, focus on things. And yesterday I had, I guess, church band is kind of what it's called. It's basically this group of students where we're worshiping together and we're learning new songs, and it's a class. But unfortunately, my sickness, it messed with my brain and stuff, and I was really frustrated because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So I not messing up when I'm playing piano, or I'm always trying to be perfect, and obviously I was messing up a lot, and people were telling me oh, it's fine, you're doing great, and we understand that you're sick and stuff, and I was like, but I'm not doing great. So one thing for me was I want the truth, but at the same time I could feel God humbling me, and God was kind of saying I'm spending too much time focusing on trying to be perfect, and I have to remember that I'm only 16 and there's still a whole lot left for me to learn. And I mean, that's a big thing with this podcast as well, is we're only teenagers and we're still learning, and not everything that we say on this podcast is going to be maybe great advice for someone who's older, or maybe we'll say something that obviously maybe we don't have much information on. And we do read our Bibles, and we try to get into the Word as much as possible, and try to obviously pray and do as much as we can to really have God speak through us. But this is, obviously we're teenagers. We haven't experienced that much in life, and there's definitely going to be points where we're not going to have all the answers, and but like I was saying, we're not going to have all the answers, and it's going to be a learning process for the both of us, and benefits of being in a stairwell. People walk around a lot. But yeah, so I kind of went on a spiel there. But anything that you have kind of working in your life? Anything that you want to share?
Okay, so right now, so I do dance, and then competitions are coming up, but I'm also injured. So
wait, you're injured?
I didn't know this. What?
Wait, what happened?
It's okay. It has been going on for a while, but it just gets worse. Yeah. Anyways, so competitions are coming up, but I'm injured, but. So I really need to recover, and right now I'm trying to work on my recovery before competitions, and I'm really praying for God's work, and also, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. Oh my gosh, I will definitely be praying for you. Yeah,
thank you.
That's rough. So.
Praises. I thank him for having to do this podcast.
Yeah.
It was such a great idea. Thank you, Caitlin.
Hey, gotta thank God for that one. He's the one who put it on my heart.
And then he gave us time to do this because our schedules.
Yeah, our schedules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also helping us going back to school because we just recently got back from midwinter break. So.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things I'm grateful, is that I also have another person, that you were willing to do this and that you were willing to try and find a time to do this podcast, because doing it by myself was definitely, I was I'm gonna need another person to help us. So I'm grateful that you're my co-host, and I'm grateful that we're able to do this as well.
Thank you for inviting me.
Any other exciting news, I guess, in terms of, we haven't really, other than this first episode being out, the podcast itself, it doesn't quite have that much of a structure right now, which, I mean, it's obviously our first episode, so the goal for this episode is just to sort of explain, like, this is what we're going to be talking about, and this is sort of like, just introduce ourselves, introduce the podcast itself. Like I said earlier, this episode's probably not going to be very long, but hopefully we'll be able to start getting into more topics. One thing I did want for this podcast is for it to be very very chill and not, obviously we'll talk about some serious topics and we'll get deep into the word and we'll talk about the other things with other people that we have on a podcast. But one of the things that I really wanted is for this to be a chill environment and for not us to stress too much about it, in terms of like sounding professional, or because I think the best podcasts are when we see like these are real people, we're real people, and we stutter, we make mistakes, we have awkward long pauses, and sometimes we're not that comfortable being on camera. So I think just really giving you, the listeners or the watchers, a glimpse into like real life, and almost as if this is a conversation. Like, we want it to be relatable, and but we also want to be able to like help others, or even like the people that we have on this podcast can give us advice. So yeah, one of the things that I really wanted for this podcast was for it to be a chill environment and just sort of like laid back, like to be able to talk about just life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you think they should like comment
Oh my gosh.
on like for like topics and stuff that we should talk
Yeah,
about?
that would actually be great. Maybe we'll get a poll up on our Instagram soon where we can do just ask you guys like what topics you might want to talk about, maybe verses that you want to talk about, controversial topics, even just life in general, like how do you balance things, and definitely some things that I need to work on, obviously. If we have somebody on the podcast who's really good at balancing things, Mai's really good at balancing things. I, on the other hand, am not so much good at balancing things.
No.
We're working on it.
No.
Yes. Definitely better at balancing things than I am.
Mm-mm.
Like figuratively and literally. Yeah, so we'll probably have something up on our Instagram soon, maybe a poll. And if you're new to the podcast, you should follow our Instagram. The link will be in our description on YouTube and on Spotify. I don't know how that works, so whatever I end up figuring out on Spotify for podcasters, we were lucky that was free. Otherwise, this was only going to be on Instagram and YouTube. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? And otherwise, we can close out the podcast. I'm not really, again, this is first episode. I have watched a lot of podcasts in preparation for this, and I still don't know what I'm doing. So,
sorry, I can't talk much.
it's okay. As time goes on, we'll be able to get more comfortable, and when we're not sitting on the floor in a stairwell, hopefully that'll make it more comfortable too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, welcome to the podcast, and we hope you come back for the next couple episodes. So, yeah.
Okay.